One of the things that goes on with the field of coaching is they're taking on a lot of different levels of delivery. When you think about coaching, there's now on demand tools. Recently, I think it was Prince Harry just joined Better Up Coaching. And now there's companies who are training managers on how to coach, something we've done for 26 years. Now there's coaching assessments. We actually just built two of our own. So it's interesting. There's a ton of things being done around coaching. And when we've had conversations with companies, we often get the question, tell me about your program. Coaching is not just a program. Coaching is a tool to solve business initiatives and business imperatives. Let me give you an example. We were in a discussion with a company and help them as they were talking about, we have a lot of silos. Our company's really grown. We're not working cooperatively together. And when we talked to them, we had these conversations around, like, how are you driving the change? Well, that's why we reached out to you. Tell us about your program. And I said, well, I don't know if a program is going to be suffice. And they were shocked. They were absolutely shocked. And I said, here's why. A program is something for education, training, learning purposes. Nothing wrong with that. We have programs. Coaching is a tool to solve business initiatives. So we started to talk about some of our tactics and how it could be retrofitted. I said, think about bringing your two silos together. Take a department and just pair people up. And they have to find out one thing about that person that they have to share with the rest of the department, and maybe two things that they have in common with that person. And everyone in the call's looking at me like, well, we're not going to hire you. I said, think about it. Do your people even know each other? So before I did an invoice, they started to have that aha moment. I said, most of our relationships are email driven, especially when we don't know each other. So I didn't come in with a program. I provided a strategy that solved a very short-term business imperative. Let's get to know each other. Number two, we encourage them to have conversations of conflict in a controlled environment. So for example, share one perception you have of the other department. And when you hear that perception from your teammate, from the other team, the other silo, just say thank you. Again, they looked at me and they're thinking, how much do you charge? You shouldn't charge a dime. I said, think about it. What happens when we have conflict? Do we calm down? Are we rational? Are we logical? Everybody starts laughing. So what I was doing was I was grabbing bits and pieces of what we teach. And there's a lot of great coaches out there. And I think about one of the better coaches I've met, Massimo Bacchus, who is an executive coach. We talk about how coaching isn't something you do. It's a tool to help people solve their problems. Let me give you another one. We were working with a tech company that was talking about being more creative in their selling process. So we looked at their sales process, and then we looked at what they meant by creative. And they looked at us puzzled. And I said, well, how do you define creative selling? Out-of-box selling, you've used those terms. How do you define it? And they looked at us and they said, well, that's what we're talking to you about. I said, I don't create that definition. I don't work for your company. That definition has to come from within. So we walked them through a strategy called Define and Coach. So think about this. Think about teamwork. How often in our organizations do we have a lack of teamwork? Most organizations don't have it defined. How about our corporate values and missions? We always have something like trust and integrity. Is it well defined in terms of here's what we expect and here are the attributes and actions that support that definition? Most don't have that. So going back to our sales client, we started to talk about the attributes of someone being creative when they're selling and coming up with really innovative solutions. And you could see them really getting excited. We're on a Zoom call and they said, well, how do we work with you? Because we feel like we're getting a lot of value. Now, again, the purpose of this video is not about promoting our services. It's about giving a representation that coaching is not a program. Coaching solves business problems. Coaching addresses business imperatives. So we're also working with a company who has low engagement scores. Trust is a huge score with this company. It is not a good score. Now, think about trust. What are the tactics? What are the strategies? What are the questions? What are the activities? What are the accountability actions leaders can use to build greater trust? Do you have those defined? Do most companies have them defined? Probably not. So we had people do something very simple. I said, over 90 days, I want every manager to call in 2 people every single week and praise them for a specific job well done. That's it. Now the human resource person looks at me and goes, "Are you serious? That's it?" I said, "That's it." I said, "Here's what you're doing. You're reversing the tide of momentum of the way they converse and interact with their people. Most people have been trained and fixated to find things and see things and observe things and be triggered by things that are wrong or that need to be corrected or fixed." And you could see the eyes and everyone in the meeting started like, "Oh yeah, okay." I said, "When was the last time you were called into the office just for the good stuff?" They all broke out laughing. All of a sudden, the HR manager looked at me and said, Oh, that's interesting." I said, "Right. So if you don't get it and the next level doesn't get it and the managers that you need to build greater trust don't get it, they're just modeling behaviors. So what we have to do is find ways to build trust and facilitate it. You can't just say, I'm being honest so I have trust. Looking at someone and saying, that outfit looks terrible, don't do the presentation, but I'm being honest. Why do I share this video? Coaching solves problems. Coaching addresses business imperatives. Often we'll get from sales organizations, "Oh, we need to hire a sales coaching firm. Our managers need to know how to coach." And all of a sudden, when you get in there and you find out it isn't just a sales coaching issue, is most of the salespeople don't know how to negotiate. And oh, by the way, the company hasn't defined what to negotiate for, such as leads, referrals, letters of reference, testimonials, or whatever the case might be. And it became this nebulous thing. So here's the advantage of coaching. When you define things and you have specific expectations and you teach people how to coach to it, or you do the coaching, you're now addressing business imperatives versus it being a program that I have to figure out how to apply. Coaching is the application. So I know I've given you a lot of very quick hit, very quick references, very quick thoughts. I go back to this in summary. Coaching is not something that is in just a program. It's a tool. It's an application that solves problems. So think about this. What questions will drive awareness? What activities will drive positive change? What learning projects, something we teach, will hold people to be accountable to the process and to themselves to continuously improve? That's why we coach. And if you can figure out how to apply what I just shared to a business imperative, you're going to start to drive traction. You're going to start to drive results. You're going to start to drive consistency within your organization. I hope this has helped.